G'day folks, Corey Hinde here. Hope you're doing very well. This is a quick video, hopefully it's quick, about SEO. It's a checklist of things that you can do yourself which will help your SEO. SEO is ranking higher on Google, something you should be very interested in doing in business because it just helps you in a lot of ways. So hopefully you can do all the stuff yourself. If you can't, feel free to ask questions in the comments at the bottom. Make sure you work through the whole list. It's not difficult. I want this to be something you can do yourself and get outcomes from in an hour or two of work. Okay, so let's work through the list. Number one, what is the main action on your website? Now, this is something that when I come across a new client or potential client, or someone reaches out and says, can you look at my website for me? I want some help with ranking higher on Google. We look at a whole bunch of things, but really the main reason you reach out to a marketer is to grow your business. So if someone comes to your website, what do you want them to do? Now, I've talked about a few tasks that we put in here to help with this, the 12-year-old website test, things of that nature. But really, have a look at your website and think, when somebody comes to this website, what's the main goal I have? What do I want them to do once they arrive on my website? And is that super clear? Because that's really the goal. You know, if you could get 100 visits to your website per day and a conversion rate of 5%, which is 5 people converting to customers, what if we could double that off the same traffic? So that's something that we look at all the time. So I've said in this point here, make that main action on your site super obvious. And technically, it's not really an SEO task, but it's a I want more customers task, which is really why you're here. So something we use is a tool called hotjar.com that will make screen recordings so you can see what people are doing when they arrive on your site, with the overwhelming goal being to get more people to go to the right place, not the wrong place. So ask yourself, when you look at your home page or your landing page or the main pages people land on, what is that bit there for? Do I need it? Will I have a better conversion rate if I delete that? Which leads us on to step 2, task 2, which is make changes and delete stuff. So let's say you've showed your website to a few friends, colleagues, etc. You've looked at Hotjar and you've gone, oh, okay, do I need that paragraph there? Just delete it. So take things away. Sometimes deleting stuff off your landing page or home page or main sales pages can do an incredible job at driving the eyeballs to the right places on your website, not the wrong places. So we'll often delete stuff. We might look at Google Analytics and see which pages get traffic and which ones don't, and sometimes delete entire pages because they're not needed. Okay, your website is there to walk people down the path of becoming a customer and or getting on an email list, for example. So outside of those main goals, you've got to ask yourself, what's the point of this content right here? Task 3 is your bullseye phrase. So when I start with a new client, we always start with what do we want to win on Google? What is the main kick butt phrase we want to dominate or win? And then some other phrases around that as well. But there's often one main phrase we want to win. Okay, so make sure that your page and your site is built around that main bullseye phrase, because that's what the Google search people are searching for. That's what we want to win, and that's what we want to build content around. So once you know what that phrase is, you're going to start looking at content you want to build that supports that phrase. Okay, and also looking at other content that might not support that phrase and deleting that. Task 4, is your page mobile friendly? So in the old days, you have websites like this that were squashed down onto a phone. Most websites now are mobile friendly, but we do see the old one that is not. Okay, so search.google.com mobile friendly is a place you can test that, but you'll intuitively know this. Now, Google does take this very seriously. They look at mobile first rather than desktop. So they told us that a few years ago. However, some people just haven't updated their website for 5 years plus. So if that's you and you haven't updated your website for a very long time, your first question should be, how can I make my page mobile friendly? That's a very important thing to do. The next thing that you could do that's free, that you can just do yourself in your own time, is check your site speed. Google likes fast websites, not slow websites. So we use gtmetrics.com. It's pretty much the stock standard web page analysis tool these days. Go over to that website, pop your page in there, and it'll actually tell you how it's going and the things you need to fix. So it'll give you a list of tasks that you need to do, which is really cool. So we use that exact tool ourselves when I'm starting on the technical side of SEO for a website. SEO is kind of a mix of technical stuff and content and links, etc., user experience, all that sort of stuff. But when we look at the technical side, speed is an important one. So we start with GT metrics as our way to check that. The next task on this little list is to claim your sites on social. Now, I'm not going to talk about do follow versus don't follow links. That is relevant at the high end of SEO and as we get along the path. But to start with, just make sure that you have the ownership of your social accounts and links back to your page as well. Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, Google My Business, all those obvious ones. I don't know if you're going to use TikTok and Snapchat, but have a think about who your ideal customers are, where they are, and maybe, generally speaking, with SEO, once I've been talking to a client for a couple of months, well, probably faster than that to be fair, we will look at, what's the main social site that your customers are on, and what can we do there to support this whole campaign? Because people are there a lot, and it's usually worthwhile to have some presence on a couple of social sites as well. Task 7 is to optimize your images on websites. Now, this is a kicker. This is often something that slows sites down and is a breakage point. There are ways around this now that didn't exist even 2 years ago. There's a plugin called NitroPack, which seems quite useful to compress images and make things fast. But what you want to avoid is big images that use lots of capacity, lots of kilobytes, like a megabyte, for example. You don't want that on your site because it can slow things down. If it slows down the load time, that can be a problem for Google. We want to compress them down. So we've got a tool called compressor.io, which can compress your images and still make them look the same. Okay, so we want fast loading images on our website. We want images because they're a very important part of the Google algorithm, but we want fast loading images. That's really critical. Okay, so compressor.io is a pretty cool tool. So go and check it out. If your site has big images that seem to be slowing down the load time of your site, go and get it fixed. Task 8 is to check for broken links. If your website's been around for a while, you've got lots of blog posts and backlinks, etc., then you might have some broken links and Google does not like that. So we use a tool called deadlinkchecker.com that'll pull up any broken links and you can just go and fix them, delete them, update them, whatever it might be, change them to another type of link. But you need to be aware of that stuff because any of these little errors do count in terms of Google's algorithm for how they rank your page. So we want to make sure at the start that we just avoid all those little errors that can be getting you below a competitor on Google when actually we want to be above our competitors at all times. Let's go move myself over a bit further. Task 9 is to check the images on the site have alt text. So this is alternative text. So for example, if you've got an image on your site, but Google is looking at that site and it's looking at how blind people see these sites and use these sites. So obviously they can't see the picture, so they look at the words to convert. So alt text is part of that. Having an alt text or alt tag is crucial for your site. So you go through your site, make sure that all the site images have an alt tag, which is related to your bullseye phrase, your keywords. Okay, we don't want images with tags that are just numbers and whatnot, like you see in some image titles from time to time. We want to have relevant ones. So seoptimer.com/alt tag checker is a quick way to do it, but really most SEO checkers online that are free will tell you if you've got images that do not have alt tags, and you just work through your site and fix those up. I will usually work through, the way I do it for my clients, and I might as well share this with you guys, is let's say there's an image of a person running and the client is a personal trainer in Tauranga. We might put for the alt tag, person running, then a line, personal trainer Tauranga. And I'll have that line, personal trainer Tauranga, as a standard suffix or the end of those alt tags for all the images on that site to send some strong images to Google without going down the realm of keyword stuffing, because I've got the relevant phrase at the start, which is the person running. So think about that. Step 1, just go and check that you have alt tags. And if you want to learn more about how to name them to help Google, then ask me in the comments below. All of these little things, none of these things on their own make a huge impact, but they all add up. And Google is filtering through all this data all the time to figure out what your site is all about and where you should be ranked. Okay, so just remember that Google, essentially, it's a competition. You are in a battle with your competitors to win those keywords and phrases. So you want to tick as many boxes as possible. Okay, task 10 is to check that all content on your site is related. Okay, so make sure that your site is seen as an authority about your niche, not something else. Don't have other content on there that's irrelevant to what you do. It might be great in terms of personal storytelling, but really it's getting a bit of confusion going towards Google, and Google does not like confusion. So we want to have lots of related content on your site, not irrelevant stuff. Probably the last thing, two more things. I'll go to task 12 first, which is just to check your meta titles and meta descriptions. They're really key parts of what Google looks at. So for a free tool, just go to woorank.com and that will run through your site to tell you that your meta titles and meta descriptions are up to date. We've talked about this before. It's pretty basic stuff, but it's important to get it right. And below meta titles and meta descriptions, probably the next most important on-page thing is the H1 title, the main title on that page. So seoptimer.com/H1 checker will tell you what your H1 titles are on your page, and we want to know that those are relevant as well, because again, Google's looking at how your page is organized and structured, what are the key phrases, the key words, what's the key content, and the H1 is part of that. And the last task for this checklist is to ensure your directories are done. So go to google.marketing/directories, have a look at the list that we've got there, and make sure that you're listed on there. All of these things help send a message to Google. They're like little breadcrumbs around the internet that tell Google what you do, who you are, and where you should be ranked. Okay, so hopefully that's helpful stuff. If you've got any comments or thoughts or questions, pop them in the comments below. Please do subscribe to my channel. Look, I'm not here every day. I want to provide as much value in about one video per week. So engage, subscribe, ask questions, because I really, as much as I do my work for my clients, I really want to support the little guys out there as well, because I realize that lots of people just don't have that budget to pay for this stuff. So you need to learn yourself. And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to teach you stuff you can implement yourself and provide support in the comments. All right. Cheers, guys. We'll talk later, and enjoy the rest of your day. Bye for now.